Look at this receipt. In 1974, $19 bought a family of 4 a full week of groceries: meat, vegetables, bread, milk, dessert. In 2026, $23 buys you bread, eggs, and milk. If you're lucky, you feel it, don't you? That sinking sensation. Every time you check your account, every time you see a house listing, every time you calculate whether you can actually afford to have kids. You're not crazy. You're not bad with money. You're being liquidated. And by the time you finish this video, 22 minutes from now, the global elite will have moved another $1.4 million out of the pockets of people like you and into assets you aren't allowed to own. "2026 isn't just another year. It's the year of the Great Reset. And if you don't own the right side of the ledger, you're not a participant in the economy. You're the product being sold. Let me show you the receipts. There's a tax you pay every single day. It's not on your paycheck. It doesn't show up on any receipt, and your government will never send you a bill for it. But you pay it every single day. It's called the invisible tax, and in 2026, it's running at 23% per year. Here's what they don't tell you. According to the World Inequality Report, published in early 2026, the top 0.001% of humanity, that's roughly 80,000 people, now control 3 times more wealth than the bottom 50%. 3 times more than 4 billion people. But here's where it gets forensic. The gap didn't grow slowly, it exploded. Between 2020 and 2026, while you were told to stay home, while you were told the economy was recovering, the wealth of billionaires increased by $4.2 trillion. Not million, trillion, with a T. Your wages went up 3%. Your rent went up 47%. That's not inflation, that's extraction. Let me show you how the machine actually works. If you live in the UK, you already know the geography of the invisible tax. The Office of National Statistics released data in late 2025 that should have made headlines everywhere. Median household wealth in southeast England, over £500,000. Median household wealth in the north, stagnant, unchanged, frozen. But why? Why does wealth pool in some places and evaporate in others? Because of something I call the algorithm. Right now, there is an institutional buyer, a fund, a corporation, a digital system that can outbid you for a house in 0.3 seconds. You walk into an estate agent's office. You saved for 8 years. You have your deposit, you're ready to make an offer. And before the agent can even pull up the listing, a computer system owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, or a sovereign wealth fund has already submitted a cash offer 7% above asking. In Q4 of 2025, institutional investors purchased 31% of all single-family homes sold in major UK cities. Not 3%, 31%. You're not competing with other families anymore. You're competing with algorithms that have infinite capital and zero emotion. And here's what makes this truly sinister. They don't want to sell these houses back to you. They want you to rent them forever. That's the invisible tax. You're not building wealth. You're paying rent to people who bought the wealth-building assets before you even knew the game had changed. But housing is just the entry point. The real liquidation is happening in something far more fundamental. There's a number you need to understand. It's not complicated. It's just one number. 6. 6% is now the new normal for mortgage rates in 2026. For 2 decades, we lived in what historians will call the cheap money era. Mortgage rates at 2%, 3%, even 1.5% in some countries. Entire generations bought homes thinking that was normal. It wasn't normal. It was an anomaly. And now, the era of cheap money is dead. The Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, the ECB, they've all said it out loud. 6% is the baseline now. Some analysts project 7 or 8% by 2027. Do you understand what this means? Let me translate it into real numbers. In 2020, a £300,000 house with a 2.5% mortgage over 30 years, monthly payment £1,185. The same £300,000 house in 2026 with a 6% mortgage, monthly payment £1,799. That's a 52% increase in the monthly cost to own the exact same asset. But wait, it gets worse. The house isn't $300,000 anymore, because while rates were low, everyone could afford to bid higher. So that house is now $425,000. Your new monthly payment at 6% is £2,547. That's not a housing market. That's a lockout mechanism. Here's the forensic evidence. According to ONS data from 2025, wage growth over the past 5 years, 26%. The increase in average mortgage payments over the same period, 82%. I call this the affordability chasm. The gap between what you earn and what you need to own is now unbridgeable for 67% of people under 40. But someone is bridging that gap. And they're doing it with your money. In 2025, the UK passed the Renters' Rights Act. On paper, it was supposed to protect tenants, better regulations, more security. But here's what actually happened. Small landlords, the ones who owned 1 or 2 properties, the ones who were flexible, the ones you could negotiate with, they looked at the new regulations and said, this isn't worth it anymore. So they sold. And who bought their property? Lloyd's Banking Group, Granger's plc, US funds like Blackstone. In 2025 alone, UK institutional investors acquired over 14,000 properties that were previously owned by individual landlords. You were told this law would help renters. Instead, it helped corporations create a permanent rental class. Because here's the thing about corporate landlords. They don't negotiate. They don't make exceptions. They have algorithms that set rent prices based on market optimizations, which is corporate speak for we will charge you the maximum amount you can pay without becoming homeless. That's the lock-in. You can't afford to buy. Your rent increases annually and the gap widens. But even if you could somehow save enough, even if you could beat the algorithm, even if you could lock in a mortgage, they're about to change what money actually means. But the housing market isn't just being bought, it's being recoded. And the architects aren't who you think they are. What if I told you that within 18 months, the money in your bank account might have an expiration date? Sound like science fiction? It's not. It's official policy. In February 2025, the Bank of England entered the design phase for the digital pound. Not a study, not a proposal, the design phase. They're building it right now. CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. It's not cryptocurrency. You don't own it. You can't transfer it freely. And it's not decentralized. It's money that your government can program. Program. Like software. Here's what that means in practice. Let's say the government wants to stimulate the economy. Instead of just giving you money, they give you money that expires in 90 days. Can't save it, can't invest it, spend it or lose it. Or let's say they want to discourage certain purchases. Your digital pounds can be restricted from buying fuel, meat or international currency. Not because you broke the law, because the code says so. The Digital Pound Lab, a joint venture between the Bank of England and the Treasury, has been testing these exact features since mid-2025. Do you understand what this means for wealth? There are now two types of money in this world. Analog wealth is scarce. Permissioned wealth is infinite and controllable. The wealthy are moving to column 1. They're buying farmland, data centers, energy infrastructure, Bitcoin, gold. The middle class is being moved into column 2. Digital accounts, permissioned spending, monitored transactions. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is disclosed policy. The Bank of International Settlements published a report in 2024 titled Blueprint for the Future Monetary System. Page 47 explicitly discusses programmable money for targeted policy outcomes. They're not hiding it, they're announcing it. And here's the mechanism that makes it all work. While they build the digital pound, they're devaluing the old currency. Inflation isn't a mistake. It's not a policy failure. It's the tool they use to force you into the new system. Since 2020, the British pound has lost 23% of its purchasing power. The US dollar, 27%. They're making your cash worthless. So you'll beg for the digital system. And once you're in it, you're not holding money anymore. You're holding permission. Permission that can be revoked, restricted, or expired at any time. So what do you do? Here's what they don't want you to know. The 1% aren't just hoarding wealth, they're front-running the reset. And I'm going to show you exactly how. While you were being told to save money and budget better, the ultra-wealthy were buying 3 specific types of asset. Number 1, data infrastructure. AI doesn't run on hope. It runs on data centers, semiconductors, energy. In 2025, private equity funds purchased over $89 billion in data center capacity. Not stocks in tech companies, physical infrastructure. Why? Because whoever owns the servers owns the economy. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they all rent space from these landlords. The AI boom everyone's talking about, the profits don't go to workers, they go to infrastructure owners. Number 2, energy assets. You can't run AI without power. Massive power. In 2025, data centers consumed 4% of global electricity. By 2028, that number is projected to hit 11%. The wealthy aren't buying energy stocks. They're buying energy production, solar farms, wind installations, nuclear partnerships. Because when electricity demand doubles, they want to own the supply. Number 3, scarce physical assets. Gold, land, water rights, Bitcoin. Anything that cannot be printed, programmed or inflated away. Family offices. The private wealth managers for billionaires increased their allocation to hard assets by 34% in 2025. They're not doing this because they're paranoid. They're doing it because they see the playbook. Weimar, Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina. When currency dies, those who own assets survive. Those who hold cash are wiped out. Remember the algorithm I mentioned at the start, the one that outbids you for houses in 0.3 seconds. Now you know what it's really doing. It's not buying houses to rent them out for profit. That's the side business. It's buying real assets before the currency collapse. It's converting inflation-vulnerable cash into inflation-proof property. You're not competing with other families. You're competing with entities that know the money is dying and they're getting out first. So here's your roadmap. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm showing you what they're doing. Move from consumer to asset owner. Stop thinking about affording things. Start thinking about owning things that produce value. Own a skill that AI can't replace. Own a small piece of hard asset, even fractional. Own your attention. Stop renting it to platforms. Own your data. Understand what you're giving away. The gap between column 1 and column 2 is accelerating. Every month you stay in cash, you're choosing to be liquidated. The mask is off. 2026 is the year they stopped pretending this was accidental. They're telling you this system is being reset. And you get to choose. Are you going to be an asset in someone else's portfolio? Or are you going to own assets yourself? In our next video, I'm going to name names, the specific companies buying up your neighborhood, the family offices front-running the collapse, the politicians who approve the digital pound while buying gold. The middle class isn't disappearing by accident. It's being liquidated by design. And the receipts are public. Subscribe, because they're counting on you not paying attention.